Welcome back to another episode of Positively Uncensored, your favorite reality TV and interview podcast. Today, I am so excited to be joined by my favorite cast member from Million Dollar Secret, Jaimi. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. I like your
I
style.
I have wanted to talk with you since episode 1, and then seeing that the series actually ended up making the top 10 on Netflix. Oh, this is big.
Big, right? It was number 3 globally for a while, which is absolutely insane. I had no idea. I mean, we know it's Netflix, but wow.
And you were in at least 80% of the show. So, congratulations for being on the show, making it as far as you did, and also just being so graceful as the episodes are airing and you're kind of processing public reaction.
Yeah. The processing public reaction, I didn't know what to expect, but woo! Definitely that first week, your girl was the number 1 talked about cast member. Certainly for that first week. And, it still continues. It's very interesting. But the messages have gotten a lot softer and a lot sweeter. So I'm grateful for that.
Good. This episode, we're going to be pouring love into things, pouring clarity into things, and we're going to be reminding viewers that number one, this is a game, and number two, we absolutely don't see everything.
Not even close. I tell people these are 10-hour days. You're getting 45 minutes. Give us grace.
And also, I noticed some episodes were shot at night, which made me think of practically you guys, it's off of your regular routine, it's throwing you out of things. I can't imagine how much that adds to how you're feeling already being out of your environment and then being on a different schedule.
Completely on a different schedule. And then, not to mention, I don't know if this is TMI, but one of the girlies, I won't say any name, launched off. You know how it is, even with our cycles.
No.
You know how it is when we get together. It is a real thing. The girlies were switching each other up. It was crazy. It was one person, and then all of a sudden we're like, could you get us our needs for it? It's just, there's so many things that are happening and throwing you off. People just have no idea.
And yet, people still don't understand the power of women in community when you see that even our bodies can link up to each other. It's crazy. Before we dive into everything, I want to start with a very quick game, and it's going to be called Irks My Spirit or Lifts My Spirit. And I have just a couple of random things that I just want to see whether it irks your spirit or lifts your spirit. And it's not pertaining to Million Dollar Secret, it's just to get to know you.
Okay, let's play. I'm
Okay.
into it.
So, when someone visits with no call, irks or lifts your spirit?
Yeah, that irks my spirit. I need a moment. Not because I don't love you, but because your girl has to prepare just
100%.
to communicate.
100%. What about holiday proposals? Do you think that those lift your spirit or irk your spirit?
I think that lifts my spirit. I'm a very celebratory holiday person. And I think that there's nothing, because I grew up, I'm an 80s baby. So we grew up, let's say Christmas time, it felt like Christmas. That's when the Home Alone was dropped. It felt like everything was so festive. So it reminds me of love. So why not throw a little extra love on top of it? I think it makes for a great, discussion.
I absolutely used to think it was cheesy when I was younger, and I've come to find it absolutely adorable. And I feel the
Adorable.
exact same way. It's adorable, it's nostalgic, it's warm, it's everything.
There you go. Nostalgic and warm. There we go.
Mhm. What about going 50-50 on a bill?
Huh? What?
Where?
Who? What do you even, wait, is this working? Hello?
Hello, please don't try this.
Right. Like,
Do not attempt.
it's just that irks my spirit. It does not work for my spirit. And I have to be honest when I say I've never been approached that way. No man has ever asked me. I mean, I get treated well. I've never
Good.
had to deal with any conversation like that. Thank God.
Beautiful. Because you never know. We hear stories about
We hear.
we don't know. We
Mm-hmm.
hear.
Mm-hmm.
FaceTime calls, do they irk your spirit or lift your spirit?
It depends on who they're from.
Period. Yes, it does.
We can go on either side with that. But if it's, somebody I'm looking forward to, like, please FaceTime me. I love your face.
Agreed. Flying economy irks your spirit, lifts your spirit, just happy to be on the plane.
Honestly, just happy to be on the plane. I'm a little bougie, but I'm not that bougie. I'm trying to get where I need to go, and however that happens, it lifts my spirit.
Okay, love
Yep,
that.
yep, I'm good.
And then what about a long prayer before dinner? Irks your spirit, lifts your spirit.
Irks my spirit. Let's eat. I'm hungry. We didn't listen to the food the whole time. It was smelling it. I had some snacks. Now it's time to dig in. You could have said that this morning.
100%. My dad's a pastor. I can relate. Sometimes it's eyeing the food, tasting it as a kid. Am I okay? Is God gonna strike
Yeah.
me down? All of it.
Oh my God, I love that you're a PK.
I am. Interesting. Are
Yes.
are you by chance?
No, but my
Okay.
dad is he gives preacher vibes. He's not a preacher, but he has the vibe.
I know exactly what you mean by that.
Yes.
Okay, so that was a lot of fun for me. Thank you for embracing me and letting me ask you those questions.
I love it.
Did you know that Black women in New Jersey are 7 to 8 times more likely to die from pregnancy related causes than white women? Wealth is not a protective factor. In fact, wealthy Black women are still more susceptible to maternal death than their white peers. The Perinatal Health Equity Initiative is fighting to change that through education, advocacy, and support. You can help by visiting their website today at https://givebutter.com/HCOFR5 to learn more and donate. A portion of the proceeds from all positively uncensored content and merch also supports their work. Let's stand together for Black mothers and families. Do so by visiting the link in the description below. Let's get back to the episode. As I was preparing for our interview, I was shocked in such a pleasant way to read just about how broad your background is.
Mm-hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I excuse me. I read that initially you worked in real estate. You are the creator and founder of the Sleepless Network, which helped manage and market influencers in various brands. And then you started your life coaching business in 2023. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah,
Wow.
I have a very, very full and colorful life because I live by my heart. When I want to go do something, however I want to do it, I really do it. It tugs on my heartstrings so much that I go for it. So I got my real estate license when I was 19. I could not wait to get out of high school. I just didn't like school. I didn't like sitting there. It was just the worst. I went to school for recess. I was that girl. When are we kicking it? Who can I talk to in that 5 minutes we get from going class to class? Lunchtime, after school, I was ditching school. It was a mess. So I got my real estate license, sold my first house at 19. That job was a little mature, so I did mortgage stuff. I did music videos and stuff. I started to model and do all that. And then, yes, I started the Sleepless Network, and I actually did that before Instagram existed and before influencer marketing had a name. So it was just, I'm ahead of my time because I felt it in my spirit. God was waking me up at 4 o'clock in the morning in that season. And that's when I came up with it, dream now, sleep later. So I pretty I put together an influencer marketing team. Nobody knew what I was talking about. Nobody could really understand what I was saying and what I meant. However, they were on board. So we got deals, we threw parties. It was amazing. And yeah.
And you also spent your fair share behind a microphone yourself as well because you've done hosting gigs, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I became an interviewer in 2008. One of my friends thought I'd be good at it. I did my first interview with Beate Chalette. She's Women Who Want It All. She's such a strong, beautiful, powerful woman who teaches other women how to get everything they want. So I interviewed her in 2008 and I haven't put a microphone down since. I have interviewed at tech shows in Singapore, Vegas, car shows, red carpets. For a hip hop music channel, I've interviewed everybody you could think of in hip hop, AfterBuzz TV. I mean, I've talked to so many people about so many things. I love it so much.
Yeah, I can tell that you're great at it. Even as I was looking into it, I was, you know what? That I can see. I can see everything. I can see you excelling at everything that your background entailed, but I can absolutely see you being a great speaker, a great host, great at navigating conversations and picking up people's energy. So thank you for letting me go through all of that. I want to know,
Yes.
did all of those hats help you in your game?
Oh my God, all of those hats always help me, right? So for example, I tell people that being a host right? So for the NAB show in Vegas, it's a huge convention where everybody brings their technology and all of the technology that makes the movies, whatever's coming up next for our phones, all of this stuff. I don't know anything about that. Nothing. But they had me interview the entire floor and produce a show on it because I'm actually a good listener. So I listen to people, I'm hearing what you're saying and I'm picking up on everything around because I'm used to and I'm trained to have to either ask you a smart question or get something from you that will help others. So in the game, for example, when I got the clue about um, the millionaire lying about their profession, that's kind of where that came from. Well, let me put on that authoritative hat and have everybody go around and say something because I'm kind of giving you the gift of listening and communication.
Ooh, I had a question about that. That makes so much sense. I wanted to know what made you think of that because I was like, it didn't read like it would be something that a producer would tell you because it's like a little too helpful. A little too helpful. And it seemed and I was like, "Oh, she came up with that on her own." And she really got everyone to say and Lydia tried to be like, "No, the clue." And you're like, "No, the profession." So smart. Did you get any vibes as people were going around, like any of anybody who was lying?
Well, I was already suspicious of Lydia and Sam out the
Mm.
gate. So in that episode, when Sam got the money, she sat next to me at breakfast. And and Lydia was acting differently as well. Lydia was on the far side of the table. I'll never forget it. I don't forget the feelings. But I remember right after Chris and I were starting to get close, I went over to Chris. I was like, I know Sam got the money. I can hear it in her throat, and then, we talked about how Lydia, she switched up her game. If you notice in the show, the dinner before, she was a little irritated. Like, they're all crying, they're all wimps. I'm going to have to get my poker face out and start stepping on necks. And she wanted to bring out a different type of game. And it was very felt. So it became this thing. Lydia, Sam. They were two people I was suspicious of just by what I was hearing.
That's so interesting because I was wondering how each person's energy changed as they had that burden of trying to keep a secret. And as a viewer, at first, I expected everybody to get really quiet. And I was
Mhm.
surprised that I'll use Sam as an example. She, in fact, had more joy. It seemed like it. She was very happy and very trying to be involved in everyone's conversations. And did you feel it was different to watch everyone's energies and how they handled that?
Well, see, that's nervous energy. And
Mm,
Lauren kind of had the same thing. You're
yes.
laughing a lot. It's because all of that stuff is like stuck up in here. So you're like, you got to let it out some way,
Mm.
and Phil had a great point. Obviously, us being in the mental health sector, sometimes you just got to scream. And if you can't scream, then you're laughing. That energy is going somewhere. So yes, when I watch back, I can see how the need to hold a secret, the energy that lives in your body for that, it has to go somewhere. So
That's
yeah, it
so
was interesting to see that. Yeah.
That's a very interesting perspective. And I think that that's nice because it also kind of gives people a little bit more grace to kind of for me, I can be a very critical viewer. So hearing something like that reminds me, okay, maybe that's not them at all times. Maybe that's them sitting with $1 million secret, which is literally the show's name. Oh my
Right. I
God.
mean, you see?
Not me understanding as we're talking. That's
Right.
embarrassing. But they kind of ate that with the name then. You know what?
Right. It
They
ate
kind of,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a good transition because a large piece of the game is about being suspicious of small things and sort of analyzing everybody. Did that feel foreign to you? Did that feel like something you're used to doing and looking for people? What did you feel from that?
Yeah, well, it was one of my strengths. And during the interview process with Netflix, casting in Netflix, that was kind of my jam. I am a life coach and I do pick up on things that people are not saying, because I can feel it, and that helped me a lot in my game. I wasn't always right, but I was always real close. I knew what I was seeing. I knew what I was feeling. I knew what I was hearing. So having that sensitivity, I absolutely felt empowered during that game. And that's why I talk about my spirit all the time in the game. It's really all I had. I didn't come in prepared to, for example, Sam McGinn, she knew she wasn't going to say she was a cop. Um, Lydia used to do escrow and all of these things. I knew I wasn't going to come in with some grandiose lie because one, I know that we're good, but we're really not that good. Harry said it best. You can't hide your tells. You can't hide all of them. You just can't. And every person in the cast is sharp as a whip. So
Mm-hmm.
when you got 11, 12 people together who are, they're smelling, they're sniffing, they're feeling it,
Mm-hmm.
the pressure is insane. It's insane.
I felt nervous, like literally saying, like picked up a drink, looked at the bottom of it for a second, just having anxious energy, kind of, going around. I would do the same thing. People are like, secret agenda? I
Yeah,
think yes. And I was like,
yeah.
oh no, I would be doomed in this show because of the amount of things I do to keep myself busy when I have anxiety. I'll go fix things, I'll go do little things, I'll say weird things to people. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I'll hit on this a little bit later, but I haven't heard anybody really have a conversation surrounding the suspicion element of the game and whether certain people who may have either implicit biases, prejudice, preconceived notions, whether that plays a role into being suspicious of certain people. And although I haven't heard this talked about and perhaps may not even be the best person to facilitate a conversation, I wonder if that's something that you felt as well. If the game sort of unintentionally may have revealed things about other people and what they find suspicious and whom.
Yeah, it definitely, there are a lot of biases in there. And it's interesting to watch it all play out. And it's very interesting to see and watch the general public and how they receive and perceive things. It's very telling of our collective space of where we're really at. I even had to check myself in that. And that's why I was so, passionate by the episode 3, because for example, I personally felt this, and I don't know who I had a conversation with about it, but when we voted out Harry and when we voted out Say Young, it's like I felt some kind of way because I was like, oh, they're just different.
Hmm.
What I was with Harry, what I thought I was picking up as something being suspicious, which
Mm.
was not the prayer, by the way. Y'all don't pray before you eat. You don't hold hands and bless this food, but that's another story. I wasn't that, but there was just some things. He's different. He's a little quirky. We're all different, but but it cost him in this game. Same thing with Say Young. We're watching her pick stuff up and she's a real gamer and this and that. I don't know anything about that life. So to me, it's all foreign. It's all weird, quote unquote, if you will. And, she was voted out for that and her emotion, so by episode 3, I was like, I need to see people
Hmm.
differently and
Hmm.
realize we all just met. How can I tell the difference between what they're doing and who they are?
Yes.
So there was a lot of that came up for me personally. And even being on the receiving end, you know, as a Black woman, sometimes I feel like my presence is just naturally amplified in a way. Like it's not, I don't know what it is because I am in here, but sometimes the way I feel like I could possibly be perceived is different because of the way I look and even perhaps the way that I speak, whether it be with conviction or, for example, some of the comments will be like, you were yelling. And I'm thinking, when did I yell? Is that what you hear when you see me? You know what I mean?
I
So
do. Is that what you hear before I've even spoken,
yeah,
sort of
it's
thing?
confusing because I'm watching myself talk and I'm like, I'm clearly not yelling. But then you have a chunk of people who is like, you're doing this, you're doing that. And I'm like, but I didn't even do that. So what is this that we're seeing here?
And it's interesting because I mentioned this when I spoke with Sydney as well. It felt like respectability politics at play. Who's allowed to do certain things, who's not allowed to do certain things. It felt like a lot of tone policing in the house. And as someone who's done a lot of interviews with people from The Trust, The Mole, Squid Games, The Challenge, there is without a doubt a higher expectation placed on Black women when they play a challenge game. Absolutely, they receive more criticism. Black women receive more expectations to be the moral compass, to not act a certain way. People who don't, it's very clear, even listening to viewers' criticisms, who doesn't have Black women in their lives, because the way that they speak tells me that they're very unfamiliar with what they're talking about, and as a result, misinformed, you know? Um, and I know Lydia did mention that that even came to play. She mentioned, and people are in tune with things that personally impact them. So, for example, Lydia noticed that there was ageism in the house
Mm.
because she felt like it was either going to be her or Harry. You know, an unspoken thing she said in an interview. She felt like eventually one of the two older senior most cast members are going to get voted out, and she may as well throw Harry under the bus while she can,
Wow.
so
I
that,
hate that.
yeah, so
I
that it's
hate
not
that.
her.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me think, if she's able to understand that, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? There may be a gateway point for her to understand how other people feel in the house. And even, such as the reaction that her comments sat with viewers, may have sat with you. But we'll go back into that, of course.
Yeah, I did have the ageism conversation with Lydia, and I hate that for her. I mean, I hate to, because, my mom is, pretty much the same age. And I do remember my mom mentioning that in the workplace at one point, long time ago, and how it was difficult to even get a job. They question your competence and all these things. And I'm thinking, but I don't think like that.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So it always catches me off guard to like, it's always something I'm willing to consider, but my brain just doesn't go there because
Absolutely.
it's just, I just don't get it. And maybe because I'm what, people could consider as like a marginalized person, being Black, being a woman, it's all these quote unquote minorities, which, we are not a minority literally, but, it just, I think I do live in a much more open space, a less discriminatory space, just because for what? I don't want people to look at me and make assumptions because most of the time, y'all be mad wrong. You be wrong. You're wrong.
Absolutely.
And it's
And
annoying. It's hard to navigate.
And that always seems to be the case. People who, whether people are queer, or like you said, whether people are marginalized, it does give you, or just what society would deem different for some regard, it gives you a more open heart and sensitivity to receive other people and not want to see them being ostracized or bullied because of those things that make them different, you know?
Absolutely. And I mean, honestly, that was kind of part of, again, my passion in episode 3. I see and hear what's going on, and I'm kind of one to shut down behavior that doesn't make sense. I speak up.
Let's get into episode 3. I'm going to pop around. I was going to talk to you a little bit about casting, but while we're here on episode 3, I want to hit it so that we don't end up not getting to it.
Okay.
Episode 3, we'll start when Lauren comes clean about the money before we
Hmm.
go to dinner. When
Hmm.
she first comes clean, I was the millionaire. It was me. Okay. What was the house thinking? Was everybody put off by this?
I mean, what I love about that scene is it was raw and it was honest on everyone's face, no matter what you thought, whether
Hmm.
you wanted to console her, whether you felt vindicated, whether you were or were not shocked, whether you were a little aggravated, whether everybody's face, that whole scene, it was raw. You could see exactly how everybody felt. I was annoyed. Sydney looked like, okay, her wheels were turning. Corey was like, okay. And then now the tears too. Like so everybody was kind of like, what is this? And what are we doing? And what am I looking at? And how am I feeling? And like, all right. And your brain is just, because I don't know how many days in at this point, but we're just now kind of getting a little bit warm, a little bit. We're getting used to seeing each other. We're getting used to communicating with each other. And we're kind of we got it wrong with Harry. We got it wrong with Young. We're trying to figure it out. We're starting to
Hmm.
see how this thing works. And then we get this, and it's kind of just like, you know, it's a wrench in the flow. And for me, it wasn't so much, I get troves of messages and DMs and comments. Why are you mad at Lauren for playing the game?
Mm-mm.
Nobody's mad at Lauren for playing the game. Lauren played a great game. She was the first millionaire. She was put in a wild position and she killed it.
Hmm.
Not one person in the house will refute that. What you're seeing is, I try to liken it to, just if your boyfriend cheats on you, just because he comes clean doesn't mean you take him back.
Or that you thank him for doing that.
And then he won't tell you what girl it is, but he will tell you it's somebody that she moved, or like, we're not doing this. It
Mm,
doesn't, on any psychological human level, it just doesn't feel good. But
mm.
did that mean we all rallied up and was like, let's get her out and got our pitchforks? Absolutely not. It's just a little aggravating in the moment because you're going from crying and you don't want to lie anymore. It was literally like, I hate to brag, was theatrical. And
Hmm.
it was just a lie. And nobody wants to feel played with in their face. That's pretty typical for human behavior. So that's kind of, I feel like, how some people were feeling like, oh my God. Like Corey was even like, I trusted that girl. What? You got to check yourself almost like, okay, how many things did I not see? There's so many emotions, so many emotions.
Do you th I think that a lot of times the words that we've heard how Lauren was described as talking about herself as millionaire is the word bragging. Do you think that in your mind she was bragging to the group in conversations we didn't see?
She, what wasn't working for me is, yeah, it was definitely that. It was
Hmm.
an air of it just didn't work.
Hmm.
And it was never her and how she played. It's how it was the energy of whatever that was
Hmm.
that continued. For example, when you see in the show that Chris, Corey, and we break off and we go talk by the pool. And we're actually like, we better get a plan here because we got little bits of information. We need to start. What are we gonna do? And so when we were standing there, she walks up and she's like, I'm here.
Oh, yeah, I
I'm
remember
here.
this. Hmm.
And we're like, mm. So it kind of became this thing of like, like almost like I'm the house. I know
Hmm.
it all. I was the millionaire. You need
Hmm.
me. I have information that you need. I'm going to help everybody figure this out because and that's not a team player. And that's kind of, I feel like it would have been best for her to, since you hadn't been on the predator side just yet, to maybe fall back and understand and analyze from a different perspective so that you could shift your game to match a different side. Because as much as we had to learn from her, maybe with like the clues and whatnot, I think there was a lot of value that she could have learned from us and the different kinds of conversations and how it felt to actually try to deduce and understand how to find the millionaire. And we didn't get the opportunity to like do any of that day. And it was hard.
When Lauren's presenting herself as I am this great resource within the house, what information was she willing or not willing to share? And if you don't remember specifics, was it a lot of stuff that she was keeping close to her chest while still wanting a thank you for what she shared?
It was like half and half. Like she basically shared the information for one um agenda, but not the other agenda. So we only knew about the one agenda. But again, we were all there in the beginning. We did not know what it meant that, well, I want to have an advantage. I don't want to share the first one. We don't know what that means. All we now know is that you lied. And that's why Chris kept saying it. That's why
Mm-hmm.
I kept saying it. It's one thing to be fully transparent and then be like, I'm here to help. But it's another to say, well, I'm going to help you with a little bit of this. And even Cara mentioned it on the show. Lauren has her own game to play. It's fair, but you put yourself in the lion's den with it. And that wasn't anyone's fault. It was just how it played out.
I think viewers are definitely forgetting at the dinner that Chris was at least 50%, if not more, as to not to speak for Lauren, but I can imagine that he had something to do with how worked up she got because he was also coming hard at Lauren and telling her, "Don't you understand why it would be beneficial for us to vote you out? Like,
Hmm.
you're a threat. You're not telling us everything. We should send you home, Lauren." And she was so worked up over that. And I'm just wondering if you feel like Chris has gotten the same amount of smoke that you've gotten for how he talked to Lauren.
Okay, you know Chris didn't get that much smoke. Like I never see comments, and I'm not to say he doesn't get smoke because he gets his share of smoke, but nobody came at anybody on this entire show the whole time the
Mm-hmm.
way the public felt it was right to come at me. And it's wild. I'm like, he's a whole man. You know, I had men, I don't want to say in my face because I don't want to make it a violent thing. It was never anything like that. But it's just like, I I got no grace. And I stand on what I said because I was right. And I hate that people couldn't hear me for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Chris and I woke up that day because we started to get closer. And I remember we were on the stairs, we were walking up, and he was like, "Do you know who you're voting for?" I was like, "Yeah, we got to get her out." He was like, "I want her gone." And it was, again, it was nothing personal. And even on Lauren's behalf for getting worked up, we all get worked up. Clearly, you see me worked up when you feel like you're fighting for your life. You're in this microcosm. Nobody wants to go home. So all the emotions are high. Like, we're sitting up here trying to eat. We're legitimately hungry, but we don't know what's going to happen in this room. And you really do have to pack your bags and go immediately. Nobody
Mm-hmm.
wants that. It's scary. It heightens everybody's everything. Everything
Mm-hmm.
is heightened for everyone. So yeah, Chris absolutely didn't get as much smoke. I don't think Lauren did either. We watch her say things that I don't think are particularly kind. And we weren't playing that type of game where we're like, oh, you're loud. Just because you're loud doesn't mean you're smart. Like, what are you really saying, girl? Just because you say it with a smile, you think we don't get that
It's
from
the nice
you?
nastiness, and that's
I
that
don't do
Midwest
nice,
nice
nasty.
nasty.
No, we're
Give it,
not. Well, you're getting checked by
yeah,
me. Okay.
exactly.
Don't do that.
Yes.
I do not like that.
I don't either. And I think that my issue with Lauren is I felt the same way. I felt like she was being, I mean, honestly, I felt like she was being pretentious. I felt like it came across very pretentious. I felt like it came across very like I said, nice nasty. It always bothers me when somebody who works in teaching, nursing, mental health, and behavior therapy. And they go on a reality television show and they say, I know people's psyches and I know how to manipulate people because of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird to me. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
can't say in 1 second that you're so nice, and then the second you know how to manipulate and move people around. And
Mm-hmm.
me think that that's like, and I understand people play the game. I
Mm-hmm.
understand in theory what she meant, but it is always something that raises alarm bells to me because it is like a forewarning of, oh, okay, you're very nice, nasty. Throw your hands and then hide them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's not something that works for me. And again, this was never about demonizing Lauren.
Right.
Again, we can talk about everything that we see on the internet, but I do find it very hard to believe that the general public missed so much. If I was your friend, you would want a friend like me to
Mm-hmm.
speak up. You would want, it was the right thing to do. I think Lauren is amazing and smart. I probably laughed the hardest with Lauren. Like, she's great. So what we're talking about here is not trying to paint a picture or pit us against each other or demonize, but you did what you did. And
Mm-hmm.
I said what I said
Mm-hmm.
because I'm picking up on it. Or even when you're talking to Chris and it's, well, why wouldn't we vote her out? Oh, well, that would be a bonehead move. Nobody else is doing that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Stop. And that's why I said, whatever it is that you're doing, you need to stop.
So she was also it was the bragging, it was the finding out that you're lying, but it was also small comments that were made that were very poking.
I can feel, people don't understand. I am physically sensitive to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like I was getting runoff from it because of whatever she had with Sydney. Because now it's starting to look like alliances. Now people are leaning into whatever. And you can see in the show, she asked me, do you have an alliance with Sydney? Like, now you're on my case in a particular way. And in that conversation, that same conversation with her, I let her know that I was hurt by the way she was treating me. I said, we have been cool and I'm offended. I'm hurt by what I'm getting from you right now. Sydney had also pulled her aside for a one-on-one and said, hey, I know how it feels to be judged for what you look like.
Mm-hmm.
We are all trying. So these are conversations where the mean girls, the Jaimi, the Sydney were like, girl, you're hurt. This hurt. What you're doing, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know where it's coming from, but it's hurtful. Like, I thought we were at least good. I know we're not friends like this, right? It's every man for themselves. But like, what is this? All day long. And then I watch and I know what I'm feeling. And that's why at the dinner, I'm like, you need to, like, what, like, just,
Yep.
I've had it. No more bosoms and we're not doing baseless. I know that
Mm-hmm. Bosoms. Yes.
you are coming for Sydney from a baseless place.
Mm-hmm.
We did this with Harry. We did this with Say Young. We did not want to do it again. And I know that you really don't think Sydney has the money. You don't even believe the words you're saying. I can hear and feel that.
Mm.
So let's just not do that.
Do you
Okay.
think two questions? Do you think that she really had an issue with Sydney, or do you think that it really came from she thought that Sydney was a threat? Means for you, whether you're looking to improve your health, strengthen your core, improve your flexibility, Better Me Health Coaching is here to help with over 4,000 workouts in the app, ranging from calisthenics, somatic training, wall Pilates. You will find something that works for you with 24/7 personalized training, nutrition guidance, and real progress tracking. You're going to have the support that you need to stay on track and feel better. Join us, over 150 million users, on their journey towards better health. Tap the link in my show notes to get started today. Back to the show.
No, I knew it was baseless. I knew it was baseless.
Baseless.
Now, whether she thought she was a threat or dangerous player, you could have went that route, but she didn't. She was like, I don't know. I saw the same thing in her that I saw in me, and she wasn't breathing like this and this and that. And I'm
Yeah.
just hearing it. It was almost just as baseless as when, Sam was concealing that she was a cop, but she knew in the beginning that Lauren was the millionaire and couldn't share how she knew. So I remember when she came to me and was like, oh, I was meditating. And then Lauren popped up. I don't buy it because it's baseless. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
I
It's like
do.
you think it sounds good, but
Yeah.
I am hearing you. And
Mm.
I can't get there with you. That doesn't make sense to me because the truth has weight to it. And y'all are not being real.
Oh, I love that. You have like a
So
bullshit meter, a really good bullshit
that's what
meter.
I'm saying. And I wasn't coaching on the show. You don't have time. This is not a job, but this is what is special about my coaching is the lies that you tell yourself that you're not willing to face. And this is why you keep in the same relationships, the same job. I hear it, babe.
Sign
So
me up.
so
Love it.
I'm gonna keep asking and I'm gonna keep getting because we're gonna get to the bottom of what you're really saying. Because I can hear you and that ain't it. So let's keep going. And this is how I'm able to help people transform their lives. Like it's hard for people to identify that stuff within themselves. But I pick it up quick.
And isn't reality TV one of the biggest mirrors that you can have to see yourself?
Massive. Massive. Like even for me, like I know I am so defensive. I was like, oh my God, girl, like you are fighting for your
I
life.
don't
And I
think you
see,
were, to
yeah,
be honest. I really don't think you were defensive.
you're like fighting for your life. But I guess the way I'm looking at it is, I'm very much a black sheep.
Hmm.
I don't think and see and speak the normal way, whatever that is. And when I know something and people just can't jive with it, it puts me in a mode that's just like, I hate not being seen or felt or heard and I'm trying and I mean it. And it's hard. I
It's
felt like
hard
a
to be
child.
misunderstood too. It's really
Yes.
hard. Before we move away from Lauren, I just want to clarify. When I heard you said irk my spirit, to me, that's interchangeable with you annoy me. I don't want to sit next to you. Let's drop this topic. I feel like it's so synonymous with things that I say all the time. You irk my spirit is something I would say easily. You're pissing me off. You know what I mean? And I'm just wondering if it's the same for you. Is that interchangeable, all of those things?
So when I was saying irk my spirit, it's the tick.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you keep going and I can just, I
Mm.
feel, you're,
Oh, you're
girl,
like getting in there.
yeah, you're making me itch. Even when you
Yes.
watch her share the clue, don't stop believing that you see, I'm like, y'all don't understand. Like I feel it physically. So when I say it irks my spirit, it's almost like a tick. Like I know, girl, oof, you're making, this is, ay, Dios mío, I can't do it. I just feel it. It just feels some kind of weight in my body. So, before we wrap up this segment, I just want to say there's no beef with Lauren and I.
Hmm.
We have talked. I also want to share that at the table, I'm very self-aware and I realized my big personality and my antics were not being received. So I was like, I'm sorry for the mocking. I know y'all don't know me and my antics are big, but what I'm trying to say is, and I continued there. So I can understand because everybody's in an uproar about the mocking. And the last thing I want to say about that is like, I just wish people could hear my words. Your energy has felt like.
Hmm.
So if you don't like that,
Then change your energy.
imagine how I feel. But nobody cares how I feel
Right.
but it was terrible. And like I told you, I told her like, you're hurting my feelings. Like we're cool. And I don't know how people missed all that and how I became a demon off that, but here we are.
Hmm. If you still think that and you're listening to this podcast, I would bet I'm probably not going to be your favorite podcast host because I would be willing to say that you've got something internalized, some sort of something going on that you really need to sort through.
It
Whether
has
you've
nothing to do
got
with me.
No, whether you've got internalized misogyny, whether you are upset that you can't show up that way, whether you are upset that you have to diminish yourself to show up acceptable for others, there's something going on there. And to further, we'll go on to alliances because that's where I wanted to go next.
Yes.
Who was your biggest foe and who was your biggest friend in the house? Let's start there.
I would say that my biggest friend was definitely Sydney. I feel like her and I were playing a similar game. And I would say that my biggest foe, I kind of have like Corey, Kyle, Sam in this little
Mm,
box here. And I say foe because, with Kyle, no matter how much I tried to like reason with him, he just, I don't know, found ways to not
I
be in
noticed
favor
that.
of me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that was hard because I was honest with him and I encouraged him to trust himself and to speak up and to, because that's just who I am. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but and then it
And
turned
then
around,
you didn't expect him to say your name. You're like,
yeah,
ah.
you're speaking up against me, and I'm like, I'm really trying to work with you here, but that's okay. I know he was playing his own game. Kyle and I are cool. It's fine. He did what he wanted to do. Corey was kind of like in the beginning, we kind of had something where we were like, okay, but I felt when he strayed away and I didn't know what that meant for me or why. Like we kind of had that relationship like a little bickering brother and sister in there. Like he would stay on my case. And it's just like I would really have to be like, Corey, like shut up. Like we were in there like a brother and sister for real. So I just kind of wish because I know he has respect for me and he speaks highly of me, but I just wish he would have loved me more in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then with Sam, it's kind of the same thing, but I get it, right? Like I couldn't lean into her because did I know exactly what you were lying about? No, but something was like, I like her, but I just can't lean in.
Mm-hmm.
I can't.
Mm-hmm.
Sam is amazing. We had great rapport, like funny. No beef. This is not a
Mm-hmm.
bad thing, but I couldn't lean into her. So I'm pretty sure she felt that too. Like I'm kind of not checking for you because something about you doesn't sit right. And I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I can't. And then I come out and I find out she's a cop. I'm like, oh my God, well, there it is. Like, you know, what? So I made her a foe because of everything that happened with the tale of the two sisters. I'm like, girl, like, dang, you couldn't talk to me?
And
Bummer.
who knew siblings could be such a pivotal part of the game? I would never have guessed that as something.
No,
When I talked to Sydney, she said that she was actually surprised to watch back and see how the house was feeling about the both of you. Did
I
you,
know.
on the contrary, feel it was palpable, or did you feel the same way?
No, I was thrown off too. I
Mm,
didn't think that because uh, regardless of what you might think, right? So, for example, in the beginning, when the whole Lauren thing happened, I was kind of shocked to see Sam, Kyle, and Cara and go tell Lauren and be like, they have an alliance and they're going to do this. We hadn't talked about an alliance. We were just a handful of people who were like, girl,
hmm
like we can't even focus with what you're doing.
hmm
That was the reality of the situation. It wasn't like we're loud and we're the cool kids, so we're going to get together. Nobody was thinking or talking like that, not even close. And then again, with the 10-hour days, everybody's talking to everybody. It's not like we're just clicked up over here hanging out. No, we were genuinely. That's what's so funny. It's like the loud ones are, I feel like, the most hated, and Mean Girls, it's like our hearts were the most genuine and loyal and
Absolutely.
honest and open and communicative and wanted to play the game.
hmm
It's the quiet ones that were whispering and sneaking and throwing challenges and seeding negative things, and did it was the Lydias, the Caras, the Sam, like, do you know what I mean? But yet the public is like, you and Cindy are disgusting. It's like, are
It's literally like the saying, it's always the quiet ones. Maybe the title of the episode. I don't know. It literally is. It's always the quiet ones. And like you said, it's the people who are, going around and trying to talk and like, what should we do?
yeah.
That are really trying to be the like nice people on the show. Oh,
Yeah, and and that's another thing when it comes to bias, and it's just like loud, yeah, like that doesn't mean, anything. Like I remember um even for example, right? Because I'm getting messages like, y'all should have listened to Cara. She knew it was Phil. But if you watch the show, with all due respect, Cara was like, well, I think Phil changed his energy a little bit. I don't know. I just kind of feel like I noticed it. Girl,
mhm,
what is you seeing?
mhm.
Like this is what I see, this is what I feel today. And again, we don't have to be the same, but people are different, whether you say it loud with conviction we just have to accept people's differences. Like I just feel like we were so labeled, and it just didn't make sense to
Mhm.
me. I don't understand it.
And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that you all didn't know each other prior. Do you think the game would be easier or harder if you're playing for the $1 million against people that you know and know well?
To be honest, it's funny because Peter suggested that Netflix bring us all back to play again.
hmm
And I think that that would be really cool
hmm
because I trust the producers. They are very good at their job to mix it up.
Jumping forward, in the second challenge, you guys are shooting skeet and you win the challenge for your team.
Mm,
What?
mm, mm,
Was that
mm.
your first time shooting? Like, what's the situation?
That was my first time with a shotgun. I had never, and we did a practice round prior to that for safety reasons. Like, we need you guys to know how to unload, like you can't be, because then you're excited too. We needed that because obviously when I hit the winning shot, you just want to hit it and be like, yeah, no,
The gun
unload
now?
the gun, get yourself situated first. We don't want anybody to get hurt. So we did have a safety round, which was brilliant. And yeah, the second clay I hit, I was like, oh, okay, I got it. Like,
Listen, Kyle said that he did it at home, and then, like, did he miss the shot or did he make it?
Kyle didn't hit nothing.
I was about to say,
He
look
didn't
at
hit a
you.
thing.
That's suspicious. What is this, a hidden agenda? What?
I know, right?
Mm.
It was just so funny. Yeah, he didn't hit a thing. It was nice because I kind of felt like the underdog. Me and Sam were the last to get picked. And it was like, okay, well, let me show these people that I got good hand-eye coordination.
You sure did.
Yeah.
I was like rewatching it this morning and I'm stunned. You really ate that. You did so
Yeah,
good.
I feel like I need more props for the challenges because I get it, right? You know, I'm competitive. I will do the challenges, and I gave as much as I could in each one, and it was nice to like get those wins and get the team into the trophy room. Like, got a couple wins under my belt. Feels great
Now, did you compete in the first challenge? Because
with the dog.
Yes.
Hmm.
I am I missing something? Because upon my rewatch, I don't feel like we saw you, did we?
Well, I mean, we didn't see much of anything of me for the first two episodes
Uh-huh.
because it wouldn't have been conducive with episode three fireworks. But
Oh,
I was there.
okay.
Yeah. Um, I did get caught by the dog,
Oh,
because that was the one where Lydia was the first one to figure out to break up the puzzle, which made it impossible for any of us dog runners to win after that.
that competition was so stacked in the non the runner's favor. It was
Nah,
sad.
there was no way. No way at all.
So ultimately, after you won the second competition, Chris ends up entering the trophy room. And I want to know if you wanted to send him in there, if you trusted him as well. And if so, what made everybody put so much faith into Chris?
I did because Chris is a solid dude. He just
Okay.
is. He's so smart. He's so solid. And at that point in the game, it wouldn't have been wise to really lie. You will get sussed out. And, as you can see, people can send you home or conspire against you depending on how they feel. Like, we just don't know. So nobody wanted to put themselves in a position. Corey was playing me, Chris, Corey, like most of us were playing. People are clowning like integrity. This is a game of lying. Integrity also matters,
Mm-hmm.
or at least the appearance of it, because, this is a really sensitive game. People don't understand, like, you're watching your back, you're plotting, you're remembering, you're staying open to pick things up, you're doing challenges. You're like, nobody functions in that level of survival mode all day, every day. People just don't understand how psychologically, like, whatever it is. So at some point, you have to believe in humanity. And when somebody tells you, oh, I'm going to come out and tell you so we could find whatever, you kind of just got to believe them at that point. What are we
Next,
going to do?
this is a game where you almost have to take what everybody tells you at face value because you truly don't know
Mm-hmm.
otherwise. You have no history with them. I guess we could see that Chris was a stand-up dude because when he entered the trophy room, he did in fact come back after and he
Mm-hmm.
shared the clue
Mm-hmm.
word for word with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, though, Phil is the millionaire.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious what you thought about his secret agendas versus the other cast members.
His secret agenda was hard. That was like, let's get this guy out of here. Everybody's kind of like saying that. They were just, I mean, it just felt a little impossible. I don't even know. I often think about how I would have pulled some of this stuff off.
Hmm.
Switching seats, which is, the thing Kara got. I feel like that was like crazy easy.
Yep.
I thought that the Sydney one was hard. Are you okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because even if that would have been for either of us, since we were both in the trophy room, and the agenda would have been somebody asking if you were okay, like nobody cared. I would have choked on a drink. I kind of went that same thing, like when it gets caught in your throat and comes out your nose. I mean, like, what do you do? But you see how hard it was for the girl to just get somebody to ask you, which is a basic human decency. Are you okay?
Sam
Th-
said, "Hmm,
that wouldn't have went well for me either, girl. Don't nobody care. I done cried in that place. Nobody asked me a thing about how I felt. So that's challenging,
that's hard."
So, geez, poor Phil.
What do you think about, and if you missed this, I'll catch you up. Cara went on the Vile Files, and on that episode, she claims that production had picked with lawyers what challenges everybody was going to get months in advance. So, as far as people who had the impression that the game was rigged or staged, like they knew how the game was going to go and who would get the clues months prior. When I heard that, I can't say that that made me more confident that the game wouldn't have already been predetermined to go in a certain direction, but I'm curious what you sort of interpret from that.
I don't know if it's wise to be speaking on production and legalities.
Okay, completely fair.
Even for her, because I don't know that that makes sense to me. And saying something like that does kind of it kind of makes you say,
Yeah.
what I got from production, it kind of felt like we were all co-creating the experience together.
Mm-hmm.
It felt to me like they were coming up with stuff to throw a monk. Let's see what they do with this. Like, after listening to us talk, after seeing our personalities together, to me, it would be wiser and make more sense if it was more of a co-creation
And that's
as
what it
things are
felt like.
unfolding. Yeah. So
It
that's what
felt
I
like
got from it. I can't be speaking about Netflix and their lawyers, girl, because I have no idea.
100%.
No
And
idea.
you tell me if you want me to cut that part as
No,
well.
I think you could keep it in.
Okay. Um, it's just when I heard that, I was surprised. I was like, hmm, I'm not sure that that's a, a detail necessarily that we've been given before. And it felt like as we were watching, as viewers, we joked, I think they're making the rules up as we go. I really don't know if there's a solid rule book because that's what it felt like. So
Yeah.
it would be hard to imagine them sort of like predetermined and knowing where everything was going.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're good. They're really good, but I don't know. I don't know how that would have benefited I don't know.
And excuse me and listeners if I'm miscommunicating that. Absolutely feel free to go listen to the Vile Files episode with Kara. But that's the takeaway that I took away from that.
Okay. And I hadn't seen it. So,
Yeah, absolutely. When I asked
hmm,
Sydney about it, she hadn't either. So
yeah.
in episode 5, we finally get to see you receive the secret clue about the millionaire. And that's when you made the decision that we talked about earlier that your prior background played into. Where did your mind go next for how you were going to develop your strategy based off what you knew then?
My strategy was clear when Sam got the money at that breakfast. I knew she had the money, but Lydia was acting funny, so I knew I wanted Lydia out. And I also, the reason why I had mentioned I voted for Lydia, the famous dummy line. It's something that a good handful of the house like literally already knew because the way she had switched her game and honestly the like way she was treating me, it was really uncomfortable. I was severely uncomfortable. So because it turned from, do you want to borrow my hats and shoes? Which by the way, I would never adorn myself with people's items that I don't know. That's just a spiritual thing. But it became like, oh, so you're a life coach? So what is it that you do? And how does it, did it, and what? And did it? It was just so like, and here's me like, oh, I'd be happy to tell you about it. I love my coaching business so much. And this is what it stands for. This is what it means. This is why I do it. So I kept my poise. But I was like, oh, yeah, I can't live another couple of days with this type of energy. So it's just interesting that that was my vote. And that's kind of like the feels. I wasn't the only one that was feeling that way about Lydia that day. So there was always a chance it was going to be her, but boy, oh boy, who knew it was going to be her homie that like bust the kill shot, which was also a kind of a thing at the table. I was like, you guys are getting it wrong again, but sometimes people just don't care. They want to do what they want to do.
What do you think was more important to everybody, getting out the biggest threats or getting out the millionaire?
Doing what they felt they needed to do in the moment to get them closer to having the money at the end, whatever that meant in the moment.
Ooh, and everybody has different definitions of what that is.
Correct. And it changes all the time.
I want to say Lydia's comments about you made me very uncomfortable as well because I don't want to spend too much time on them.
Yeah.
Maybe what I'll say is I didn't feel it was fair for her to degrade you like that and also to make assumptions about your career from knowing you for such a limited time. And I'm curious as a life coach how you feel about this sentiment that I'm not saying that Lydia is this, but most often it's narcissists who weaponize and throw in your face, see, I knew you were like that. I was waiting for that. That's the behavior I knew that you had. And they treat a reaction to a series of behaviors as if it's what your personality is. I'm curious what you think about, does how we react in a moment of conflict dictate in who we are? And is it fair when people say things like that?
So, one, I don't mind that Lydia questioned my profession. Of course, naturally you would, right? You were lying about yours. Everybody wants to get themselves out of the hot seat. So, hey, play your game, right?
Hmm.
When it comes to what I'm very solid and secure within myself. And this is what I hope people can take as inspiration for themselves from this situation. As much as I'm open to criticisms or not even criticism, but constructive criticism and whatnot, I'm not a
Sure.
perfect person and all this and that, but I do know who I am. So calling me shallow and pretentious, it's laughable.
Hmm.
I'm the furthest thing from it. But what it tells me is that my aura speaks. It's very loud. My aura is loud. I'm the type of person when I walk in a room, I can change the molecules in a room. And that's not arrogance. It just is what it is. I don't look to be anything but loving, kind, and create spaces where people can be themselves. That's important to me. And I'm going to be myself as well. So, with the whole life coaching thing and these moments of humanness, I ask people, if I sat here all perfect and polished and I had this perfect life and always took and toned it, how am I going to understand your mess? No,
Mm-hmm.
baby. We
Mm-hmm.
argue, we cry, we get upset, we point things out, we check, like you're allowed to live.
We're
And
human.
we are human. If y'all don't stop,
Uh-huh.
you are stifling yourself. You are ruining your health
Mm,
by not speaking up. And again, I'm not saying crash out on everybody, but
right.
the beauty of who I've become as a woman, because I do the inner work, is trust and courage. I trust myself to be who I say I am. And I have the courage to do it despite all odds. I got thousands and hundreds of thousands of comments in Reddit and X about how nasty, vile, evil, mean, disgusting, and otherwise that I am. And I sleep like a baby at night because I know who I am. You could never gaslight me ever into believing something different about myself because of your words.
We need more content, and at the end of this, I'll obviously be plugging your life coach account, your business, but I just need to hear more from you. Whether we do another follow-up interview, but how you're so authentically yourself, how you refuse to let other people's perceptions and projections not be taken on. Because when people show up, and we talked about this a little bit outside of this episode, but when people show up so authentically, it bothers
It
people.
bothers people.
It just really when and whether it's because that person is insecure in themselves and has never felt bold enough to do whatever that thing may be, it makes people really loathe showing up confidently, authentically, organically, and to not be able to not have them be able to get the rise out of you that they would like to, truthfully.
Like it's it's not up to other people, because as you can see, like even with the Lydia thing, like I said, I'm gonna sit my ass right here. What am I
Hmm.
gonna do, argue with an elder? Like, you're my
Yes.
mother's age. Like, I come from respecting your elders, da, da, da,
Same.
da, but you felt, for some reason, you felt so comfortable.
Mm.
Why is it that she felt so comfortable to call me names? You plotted and planned that.
Hmm.
You planned, because you were nicey until you wanted to grill me about my job. And then you planned as an elder woman to call another woman names on your way out.
Hmm.
How is this gameplay? So if you're not seeing that, that more speaks to her character than it does to mine, I can't help you with that. I think Lydia's great. We also had a 2 hour conversation after. She did a really cute, like, little interview with all of the cast, and I joined it because I don't care what people think about me. The people who love me know and love me. And I just really feel like we all deserve that freedom. Imagine how free we would be. Imagine how authentic your experiences would be. Imagine the people you would attract because you are willing to be yourself. Um, I feel like there was one thing I was going to say. Oh, with the trolls. It's just so funny to me how, me and my stern talking to. I didn't cuss. I didn't call her names. I didn't get up. I didn't threaten her family. I didn't scream. I'm so demonized. But then you champion someone else, literally calling somebody else names. Like, do you guys not see how your collective energy is off
Hmm.
here?
Hmm.
That's the only thing that has been exposed here.
Hmm.
I'm not exposed. Lydia's not a G for telling me about myself. She didn't get me back. Da, da, da. It's none of that. What we're seeing here should make you question
Hmm.
collective understanding.
It absolutely should, because it's a projection. I've said it again. It's respectability politics. There is no capacity to see what Lydia's done and not take away that it's worse, because I'm going to use the word worse because it was worse than anything that you said the entire time you were there, because it was meant to hurt. When you sat there with Lauren and went back and forth, you weren't trying to hurt her feelings. You weren't. You were trying to express yours. When she went around the table, as poised and collected as she was, and took the wherewithal to say, "You're beautiful, you're great," and then she addressed you, that was to degrade you and humiliate you. And that should be seen as such. And it feels very convenient that the audience loves to excuse bad behavior when it target someone they dislike. So, jumping around, we get to see you do two nasty things in this series. We get to see you eat the, I wrote this down, the monkfish blood sausage pastry, okay? And then we also see you handle cockroaches and all these little critters. Which was worse?
Okay, so I'm gonna talk about my spirit really quick one time. When we came down to go sit at those tables with the dinner thingy overhead, God pointed me to my seat. Now you think you want to be at the head of the table and by Peter and in front of the cameras and ooh la 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 la. As soon as I came down the hill, I was like, there's my seat. And thank you, Jesus, because you think Sydney was scared of that snake. When I tell you there is no way Jamie Alexander will be touching a roach.
Ew.
I'm like not even built
Me
like
either.
that.
I'm
Like you
not.
could rob me with a roach. If
Me
you came
too.
up and was
A
like, I'm
mouse.
giving here, take it off.
Don't come find us.
I can't do, I probably literally would have went home that day, disqualified everything because there is nothing on God's green earth. So God knew to send me to sea with the frog. We could do a frog. It was gross. The frog's mouth was wide open, but I could do a frog. Okay. I used to do frogs when I was a kid. I had to suck it up, but we did the frog. So
You can
thank you,
kiss
God.
frogs, right? Isn't that the saying?
Yes,
Mm-hmm. We've
that too.
we're women. We've already been through this. We've seen the frogs in our days. Oh,
Yes. And I did make a joke with the eating the whole thing because I really kind of will put anything in my mouth. I'll try anything once. I lived in Okinawa, Japan for 3 years. So I've eaten all kinds of things. So it was absolutely disgusting, but I was willing to do it, for the team. So, digesting that was probably more gross, but I would say it was equal because the frog was pretty nasty too.
okay, fair. Now, episode 7, this is the episode that everybody's like, "Oh, why did Jamie let Sydney have the clue?" There has to have been more back and forth there. So can we hear a
Absolutely.
brief summary?
Yeah, absolutely. Like it wasn't just like, oh girl, you never had one. So here you go. Like nice, but in the fighting for it, I couldn't find a way to make it make sense. Last night though, I was thinking and I was like, wow, what if I presented, and this is always hindsight, like, because this is the thing, right, guys? You think you're going to get a clue and then he's surprised that there was no clue. It was an agenda for immunity. You don't know what's going to happen. So it's kind of hard to like pre-think. So the best thing that we could do in there, was try to devise a plan
Hmm.
to just stick together like the other part of the house had done. And our plan just didn't work, but I definitely didn't just give over the clue. I fought for it. We went back and forth. You hear a little bit of the whispering, but in that kind of like what was cut out was kind of like, well, how are we going to do this? We see that we're on the outs. Well, what are we going to do? Well, when you come out, do this, or how should we? So we tried to come up with something, but at the end of the day, we were just outnumbered because if her and our plan worked, then nobody would be asking me why I let her have the clue. We tried to do the best we could with what we have. And I tried to fight to be the one to receive the clue as well. But then sometimes that puts a target on your back. And there's just a lot of things to think about. And yeah, that's kind of like how that went. We tried to devise a plan and I didn't just hand it over. Nor did she vote for me at the table, even though we tried to do the best we could, girl. It was
Okay, so that's interesting because there's a moment at the table where they ask Sydney who she thinks the millionaire is after this, and
Mhm.
she says your name. She didn't vote for you. What happened?
Yeah, so I think that because of what Sam had devised
Mm.
between the people she had close to her, it was just like I was on my way out. The odds were not in my favor. So we're trying to learn how to navigate these deliberation dinners. It was almost like the same reason why Chris lied and said he voted for Sydney and not Sam. He didn't want to say he voted for Sam because we don't know if Sam had a kill shot. We don't know. So it's like we find it hard to like really speak up and see if we can trick the game or make it sound like one thing when it's not another thing. So she just kind of was going with the herd on that one, if you will. Cara said I should have known kind of when Cara had threw me under the bus in that dinner. And I kind of, that should have been my indicator that she was protecting herself. So there's just a bunch of stuff that went down at that table that like, you guys don't understand. There's just so many nuances and dynamics. I was fighting for my life. I tried to put it on Corey. I really tried to get in Kyle's ass. Like, Kyle, again? You know, because he didn't even end up voting for me. So I just wish he could have talked to me. I wish we could have figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
I wish we could have figured it out. But that whole day, you know, everybody was being kind of fake.
Fake.
The day felt like I was really trying. And meanwhile, pretty much, you know, the majority of the house was plotting against me. So it was futile.
I think
I
the
just,
worst part was there once Sam told everybody why she was about to ask the question that she asked, there was no way anybody was going to come forward and said that they had two sisters. Like once she admitted that this is the clue I got, there would have been no reason for anybody to come forward and say it when it was already being pushed in your favor and no one was going to put the heat on themselves.
but this is the thing, when she outed it at the table, it was only Sydney and I that didn't realize, like, you already went and told everybody else. You already had that conversation with everybody else.
Mm.
So it's like it got pinned. And then because Cara had so much of her favor, I mean, you're like essentially treating her like a daughter, right? Even though we're all opponents, which is fine. You know, it is what it is, right? You get to make your own choices in this game. She asked her specifically about sisters and not siblings. Like, it was a little suspicious. She told Kyle about it and bought his energy back. Sam and Corey had their little thing going on. So it was just, so yes, I had two sisters, but we're back at to the thing where people didn't want to do the work to find out who really, you know, it was just like,
Mm-hmm.
well, that's easy. Let's just do that
Mm-hmm.
because I like you and this is my baby and we're in this. And this is why Kyle got kill shot. He's more on the outs than he thinks he is. Like, you were being toyed with in a
Mm.
particular way, you
Mm.
know? And then it was just me and Sydney. So at that point, with such low numbers, it was just a house divided and didn't really have anything to do with the truth or finding out who was lying in a game of lies. It was just kind of like, or else you would have told me, like you told everybody
100%.
else. You know, y'all marinated the day in, well, she has two sisters, so, and it's like, yeah, I do, but I don't got the money.
There was no further work. And Kyle
No,
was
there
so
was
easy to be talked out of it. It was
so easy.
painful. It
It
was
was,
painful to see.
I
Well,
hated it.
I want to know if you guys had a reunion, and this is where I'm going to close, who do you think would have the most to answer for?
I think in the reunion, I feel like I would be in a hot space because I'm very misunderstood. So thank you so much for this platform and this understanding. I knew when I saw the title of your podcast, I was like, oh, she gets it. Positively uncensored, because y'all want to be coddled and babied and tears and sometimes it's like, I'm keeping it positive, but I'm also keeping it real. And, you know, we're uncensored around here. Like, you're going to get, so I feel like I would have a lot because I'm very, very misunderstood, even for people in the house to say I'm so cruel. You know, even we have a cast group chat. I was left out of the group chat for 8 months. They left me and Harry out of it. So it's like,
That's horrible.
yeah, so it's like I do feel some kind of way and I got stuff
Mm-hmm.
to say. I got stuff on my mind. Like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
like the fact that, you know, the men weren't protective of
Mm-hmm.
me, or that um you know, just these ideas, and it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. So I think I would have a lot because of everything that happened. I also think, I'm wondering who else, and maybe I'm just seeing this because it's me and my own perspective, but I feel like everybody else, it's all pretty transparent. It
Mm.
seems like everything is out on the table. I don't know. There wasn't really a lot of drama. Like, I am really okay with whatever people want to think about me. I long ago gave up because I used to be a people pleaser. That's what people don't understand. I became a life coach. I worked myself out of a lot. I never wanted people not to like me. People would talk about me in high school and rumors. It would hurt me because I'm like, I literally like do nothing. Like, I'm just friends with people, like, you know, but it took me a while. People would be like, oh, well, you got haters and did it. And I'm like, what is a hater? Like, who has time to, I'm not thinking like that. And now I look like, okay, girl, when you can walk in a room and command a room, some people like it, some people don't. When you speak your truth, some people like, some people don't. Da, da, da. So I think I'm the biggest feather ruffler when it comes to that. So I think I would be running my mouth at the reunion a lot because I got stuff to say. I know Corey got some stuff to say about some stuff. I don't know what, but he be hyped too. Um,
I want to hear what he has to say too.
I do too. I'm kind of curious.
Really wanted. I messaged him. I was like, you know what, Corey? I want to hear what you have to say, actually, really
Corey's a
bad.
cool Corey. He's that guy. Like
Uh-huh.
I wish things were different on the show between us, but just in real life, like I love me some Corey. I really care for everybody. So
Well, you are
yeah.
just such a joy. I have had so much fun talking to you. Like I said, I wish I had another hour with you. I'd love to have you back on sometime so that we can talk about Sassy, talk about what it stands for. I'm going to put a link to your website. I'm going to give all of that in the details of the episode. Thank you for being so gracious. Where can everybody follow you?
Thank you. You guys can follow me at Jaimi Alexander, which is Jaimi on Instagram and YouTube. And on TikTok, I'm at it's me underscore Jaimi. And then, of course, you can find me on Instagram and my website at Sassy Method, sassymethod.com and Sassy Method on Instagram.
Perfect. I love an easy website. I love an easy sassymethod.com. Go check it out. I'll be putting the link below in the episode. Thank you so much for your time today. I hope you have a great day, and I hope all of you enjoyed listening.
Thank you. This was great. Thank you guys for
Thank you.
listening, and I'll be back.